Do you think it's possible? A woman, jobless, drowning in financial stress, finally lands a job only to be betrayed by a coworker and fired. She's jobless again, utterly defeated, yet somehow finds the grit to work tirelessly until she builds her own company. And then, one day, that same coworker walks into her office asking for a job. Today's story proves it true. My name is Clara. I'm 29, and for 6 months, my full-time job was looking for a job. I'd make coffee in my quiet apartment. The pot seemed too loud. I'd sit at the little table I used as a desk, open my laptop, and the screen's glow felt accusing. I had spreadsheets for applications. I had different versions of my resume. I had a folder of polite, terrible emails. Thank you for your interest. While we were impressed with your background, we have decided to move forward with a candidate whose experience more closely aligns. We appreciate you taking the time to interview. Unfortunately, sometimes they didn't reply at all. The silence was worse. It was like shouting into a canyon and not even hearing your own echo. The inside of my fridge got very simple. A half-full jar of mustard, some butter, a block of cheese I'd slice thinly to make last, a lot of eggs. Eggs are cheap and you can do a lot with them, until you never want to see an egg again. I'd go to the grocery store and walk the aisles, just looking. The bright packages of things I couldn't justify buying. I'd get the store-brand beans, the rice, the discounted bread. My cart looked sad and purposeful. The worst was the mailbox. It's just a metal box on a post, but it filled me with dread. The envelopes were always white or off-white. Late payment notice for my student loans, a reminder about my car insurance, the second, then the third notice from my landlord about the rent. I'd open them with cold fingers, read the formal words, and my face would get hot with shame. I was a responsible person. I had always paid my bills on time. This feeling of being behind, of being watched and found lacking, it ate at me. Nights were long. I'd watch TV, but I couldn't tell you what happened on any show. My mind was a hamster on a wheel. How much is in the checking account? What bill is due next? Did I use the right keywords on that last application? Maybe I'm not good at anything. Maybe this is it. I'd call my mom sometimes. She'd say, "Something will come along, honey. You're so talented." I'd say, "I know, Mom, thanks." But after we hung up, I'd feel worse. I wanted to believe her, but the evidence was piling up against me. I wasn't dramatic about it. I didn't cry much. It was more of a constant low hum of worry, a tiredness that sleep didn't fix, a shrinking feeling. I'd see people out walking their dogs, going to work, laughing outside a coffee shop, and it was like watching a movie of a life I used to have. I felt invisible, like I was fading out of the world. But here's the thing they don't tell you about hope. It doesn't always look bright and shiny. Sometimes hope is stubborn. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed and making that coffee. Sometimes it's sending one more application even when you're sure it's pointless. My hope was quiet and tired, but it was there. A tiny, stupid voice that kept saying, "Just one more day, see what happens tomorrow." Tomorrow finally brought an email that wasn't a no. It was an invitation for an interview, then another, then a job offer. It wasn't my dream job. It was a coordinator role at a small marketing firm. The pay was okay. Not great, but okay. It would cover the rent and the loans and put food that wasn't eggs in the fridge. I felt like I had been pulled trembling back onto a raft after drowning for months. I was so grateful I could have cried. The company was called Vertex Marketing. The office was in one of those modern brick buildings with lots of glass. On my first day, my hands were sweaty. I wore my best blazer. I was ready to work so hard. My boss was a man named Greg. He was in his 40s, always in a crisp shirt, always looking slightly annoyed, like he'd just smelled something bad. He showed me to my desk, a gray cubicle in a row of gray cubicles. He said, "We're a fast-paced team here," not looking at me. "I expect you to keep up. Ask questions if you have to, but try to figure it out first." That was the theme, figure it out. I was given tasks with vague instructions. When I'd ask for clarification, Greg would sigh, as if I'd asked him to explain something to a child. "It's all in the brief, Clara. You did read the brief, right?" I'd double-check. The brief would say things like, optimize the deliverables, or interface with the stakeholders. I'd do my best, and then the feedback would come. "This isn't what I had in mind at all. Why did you do it this way? I thought this would be more intuitive for you." He'd talk over me in meetings. If I had an idea, he'd pause, let the silence hang, and then move on as if I hadn't spoken. Once, a file got misplaced on the shared server. Greg came to my cubicle, his voice calm and cold. "The Henderson Project files. I can't find them. You were the last one in them." I wasn't. I knew I wasn't. I said, "I don't think I was, Greg. I think it was Mark." He just looked at me. "Please find them. Now." I spent an hour in a panic searching before Mark sauntered over and said, "Oh, I moved them to a new folder. Forgot to mention it." Greg never apologized. Then there was Lisa. Lisa worked in the cubicle next to me. She was about my age, with a friendly smile and nice sweaters. She was the one who brought me into the fold. She'd whisper, rolling her eyes. "Don't mind Greg," she'd say. "He's like that with everyone at first. He just has high standards." She'd invite me to lunch in the break room. She'd ask about my weekend. She listened when I vented, softly, about how hard it was to get clear direction. "I know, it's so frustrating," she'd say, nodding. "Just keep your head down. It gets better." Lisa felt like a lifeline. In that cold, confusing place, she was warm. She was kind. I trusted her. I started to tell her a little more. My worries about making a mistake, my ideas for how to improve a process, my relief at finally having a paycheck again. She was always supportive. "You're doing great. Seriously, I don't know how you're keeping up." So I kept my head down. I worked quietly. I stayed late. I double and triple checked everything. I absorbed the humiliation like a sponge, telling myself it was temporary. I was paying my bills. That was the important thing. The pain was in the quiet moments, staring at my computer screen until my eyes blurred, feeling my heart pound before I had to knock on Greg's door, the knot in my stomach on Sunday nights. My strength was just putting one foot in front of the other. It wasn't heroic, it was just survival. The big project was for a new client, a local chain of bakeries. It was a chance for Vertex to prove itself. Greg and Lisa were put jointly in charge of the social media campaign. We were supposed to brainstorm concepts together.
A video series, The Hands That Bake, the old baker who made the sourdough, the young decorator who did the wedding cakes, the early morning light in the kitchen. It was about community, craft, people. I was excited. I shared it with Lisa first, over lunch. Her eyes lit up. "Clara, that's amazing. So much better than just posting photos. You have to present that to Greg." "You think?" I'm nervous. "Don't be. It's perfect. Let's polish up the details together. We can present it as a team." I felt a surge of gratitude. See? I had an ally. We worked on it after hours, putting together a simple presentation deck. Lisa had some good tweaks, mostly about the timing of the posts. It felt like a real collaboration. The meeting with Greg was scheduled for Friday morning. I was nervous, but ready. Lisa gave me an encouraging smile as we walked into the conference room. Greg started. "All right, Lisa, you said you had the concept nailed down. Let's hear it." I glanced at Lisa, confused. She gave a little shrug, as if to say, "You know how he is." She stood up and started clicking through our presentation deck, my deck. "So, Greg, the core idea is the hands that bake. We move beyond product shots to human-centric storytelling." She spoke smoothly, confidently. She said we a few times, but it was clear she was driving. She presented every point I had come up with, every visual I had suggested. She even used my exact phrasing. It's not about the flower, it's about the hour. I sat there, my mouth slightly open. My heart wasn't pounding. It had sunk into a cold, still place in my stomach. I felt dizzy. This was theft. Clean, simple theft. When she finished, Greg nodded, a rare smile on his face. "Lisa, this is excellent. Really top-notch thinking. This is exactly the level of work I expect from you." "Thank you," Lisa said, sitting down. She didn't look at me. "Clara," Greg said, turning to me, "do you have anything to add to Lisa's concept?" My voice felt glued to my throat. I looked at Lisa. She was examining her nails. I looked back at Greg. "No, I think Lisa covered it all." I don't remember the rest of the day. It passed in a blur of white noise. I felt stupid, so incredibly stupid. I had handed her my work, my idea, my little spark of pride, and she had taken it and presented it as her own. The kindness had been a tool. I was a fool for needing it. The firing came a week later. It was Monday morning. Greg called me into his office. He didn't ask me to sit. "Clara, I'm going to make this quick. It's just not working out. The quality of your independent work hasn't met our standards. There's also the issue of the analytics report from the bakery project that had significant errors. Lisa had to redo the whole thing over the weekend." My mind spun. What report? Lisa had told me she would handle the final analytics. I had never even seen it. But the concept, the social media idea, I stammered, a last desperate attempt. Greg looked bored. "Lisa's concept is what saved the pitch. Your contributions have been marginal at best. We need someone who can function without constant hand-holding. HR has your final check. Please clear out your desk." There was no yelling, no drama. His voice was flat, administrative. That made it worse. It wasn't even worth getting angry about. I was just a problem to be solved, a small error to be corrected. I went back to my cubicle. My hands were shaking as I put my few things, a mug, a photo of my family, a plant, into a tote bag. Lisa was at her desk. She didn't look up. No one did. The click of keyboards filled the air. I walked out of the glass doors for the last time into the bright, ordinary afternoon. The shock was a physical thing. I felt hollowed out. The shame was total. Not only had I failed at finding a job, I had now failed at keeping one. I was back to zero, but this time I felt broken. My quiet endurance had run out. I had nothing left. The raft was gone. I was back in the deep water, and now I was tired. My savings, what little I'd rebuilt, evaporated in 2 months. The debt came back, louder and angrier. The student loan people started calling. My credit card balance grew. The landlord's notices turned into a formal warning. I got a job, then another. Not careers, jobs. I worked the morning shift at a copy shop, standing on my feet, breathing in the smell of toner and desperation as people brought in their faded resumes. In the afternoons, and 3 evenings a week, I waited tables at a family-style diner called The Skillet. The uniforms were checkered and scratchy. My feet and back ached constantly, a deep, settled ache that became my new normal. I ate 1 meal a day, usually at the diner, a discounted soup or a side of toast. I learned how to make a box of pasta last a week. I stopped buying coffee out. I walked everywhere to save gas. My world became very small. The copy shop, the diner, and my dark apartment. I was too tired to worry in the grand, sweeping way I had before. Now the worries were specific, immediate. Do I have enough for the electric bill? Can I put $5 of gas in the car? Will my tips cover the groceries? The loneliness was a physical space around me. My friends were kind, but they were moving forward, getting married, buying houses, getting promotions. I'd make excuses not to see them. I couldn't afford to split a pizza. I couldn't bear the "how are you" question. What would I say? I serve pie to strangers and I can't sleep? So I pulled away. The silence in my apartment was complete. It wasn't peaceful, it was heavy. I felt broken. Not in a dramatic, shattered glass way, more like a cup with a hairline crack. You could still use it, but it was fragile. It couldn't handle heat anymore. Any sudden shock and it might split. But here is where the healing began, though I didn't know to call it that. It began because I had no other choice. You cannot give up when you have to be at the copy shop at 6 a.m. You cannot collapse when table 7 needs their check and table 3 is complaining about cold fries. Healing began as a simple, brutal routine. Get up, work, come home, sleep, do it again. In the mindless moments, folding copies, refilling coffee, my mind would sometimes clear. The static of shame and fear would fade for a minute. In those quiet spaces inside me, small, hard thoughts would form. This is not your fault. Lisa was cruel. Greg was weak. You had a good idea. You are not the things they said you were. They were just thoughts. They didn't fix anything, but they were mine. And for the first time since the firing, they weren't about how worthless I was. They were about what had been done to me. It was a tiny shift, a crack letting in a sliver of light. The idea came from the diner, of all places. An older couple came in every Thursday. They owned a small flower shop. They'd spread out their papers over the table, arguing softly about their bookkeeping. They were sweet but flustered. One Thursday, the wife, Martha, was nearly in tears. "Our website is broken," she told me as I poured their coffee. "The Contact Us form doesn't work. We've probably lost a dozen wedding inquiries, and that young man we paid to fix it last time won't return our calls." I looked at their tired faces. I thought of my own spreadsheets, my own careful tracking of every penny. I wasn't a tech whiz, but I knew my way around a computer. On my break, I Googled the problem. It sounded like a simple plug-in issue. "Martha," I said hesitantly when I brought their check, "I'm not a professional, but I might be able to take a look at your website. I wouldn't charge you just for the time it takes." She looked at me with such hope it almost hurt. "Would you, dear? Oh, that would be a blessing." That weekend, I went to their shop. It smelled of earth and roses. I sat at their computer, and within 20 minutes, I'd fixed the form. It was simple. They were so grateful they pressed a $50 bill into my hand and a bouquet of dahlias into my arms. "You've saved our bacon," Ed said. On the bus home, smelling the flowers, a thought bloomed. Small businesses, people like Martha and Ed. They knew their craft, flowers, baking, fixing cars, but the other stuff, the websites, the social media, the simple bookkeeping, it overwhelmed them. They got taken advantage of by people who spoke in confusing jargon and charged too much. What if I could help with that? Just the simple, clear stuff. No jargon, no bullying, just help. It was just a thought, a little seed, but I watered it. I kept my 2 jobs, but in the hours between, when I used to just stare at the wall, I started to learn. I used the library's free internet and computer. I taught myself the basics of building simple websites on user-friendly platforms. I watched videos on social media for small businesses, not fancy branding, but how to post regularly, how to talk to customers. I practiced with my own imaginary small business. I made myself a new, simple spreadsheet, not for job applications, but for tracking what I was learning. It took a year, a long, grueling year of double shifts and studying until my eyes burned. I saved every extra tip, every $50 bill from a small favor. I didn't buy new clothes. I didn't go out. My goal was a tiny cushion, just enough to quit the copy shop and reduce my diner shifts. Finally, I had it. A frighteningly small amount of money, but it was my runway. I called my tiny venture ClearPath Services. I made a one-page website myself. My offer was simple: affordable, straightforward help for your small business. Websites, social media, basic bookkeeping. No jargon, just help. My first client was Martha and Ed. They told the other shop owners on their street. A baker needed help posting her daily specials. A tailor wanted a simple website showing his hours and services. A dog walker needed a system for tracking her clients. I charged very little at first, just enough. I was terrified I wasn't good enough, that I was a fraud. But I did the work. I was patient, I explained everything, I never talked down to them. I remembered what it felt like to be talked down to. I fixed problems. I showed up when I said I would. The work was hard, harder than anything at Vertex, but it was mine. Every solved problem was my win. Every happy client was my proof. Slowly, the crack in the cup began to mend, not disappear, but seal with a golden line of resilience. I was building something, not just a business, myself. 5 years later, ClearPath isn't so tiny anymore. I have a small, bright office in a co-working space. I have 2 employees, a kind, detail-obsessed woman named Anya who handles the books, and a creative, quiet guy named Ben who does graphic design. We are a team. I lead them the only way I know how, with clarity, respect, and fairness. I give clear instructions, I listen to their ideas, I credit them for their work.
It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I was reviewing a project timeline when Anya popped her head in. "There's a walk-in at the front desk, Clara, asking about our services. She asked for you by name." "Send her back," I said, closing my laptop. A moment later, there was a soft knock. The door opened. It was Lisa. She looked older, tired. The friendly smile was there, but it was strained, brittle. Her clothes were nice, but not as nice as they used to be. She held a damp portfolio. "Clara," she said, her voice too bright. "Hi, wow, this place is great." For a second, time folded. I was back in the gray cubicle, my stomach cold, my hands shaking. I felt it all. The betrayal, the shock, the hollowing shame. It rose in my throat, sharp and real. I saw her examining her nails in the conference room. I heard Greg's flat voice firing me. I didn't speak. I just looked at her. The silence made her smile falter. I saw your website, ClearPath. I thought, wow, good for her. It's really impressive what you've built here." "Thank you," I said. My voice was calm. It surprised me. "I'm actually looking for a new opportunity," she continued, stepping further in. "Vertex downsized. A lot of us were let go. The market is tough." She tried to laugh. It fell flat. "I was thinking, with your experience in marketing and your growth, maybe there's a place for me here. I could bring in some big clients. I know how to play the game." She said it like it was a shared secret, something we both understood. Play the game. The words hung in the air between us. That was her world, the world of taking credit, of whispering in break rooms, of winning at all costs. I felt a surge of old anger. I had the power now. I could say no. I could make her squirm. I could list every single thing she did. I could enjoy the reversal. The thought was there, dark and tempting. But then I looked at her, really looked. I saw the fear in her eyes, the desperation. She was where I had been once, scared, adrift, holding a portfolio of her worth, hoping it was enough. She had hurt me deeply, but she hadn't broken me. In fact, her betrayal had, in a twisted way, sent me on the path to building this, to building myself. Revenge would have been easy.
But it would have meant I was still playing her game, just from a different seat. It would have meant her world, that cold world, had won. I took a slow breath. The old pain settled. The anger softened into something else, pity and a firm, clear resolve. "Lisa," I said, "thank you for thinking of Clear Path, but there isn't a position for you here." Her face fell. The mask slipped completely, revealing raw disappointment. "Oh, I see. I just thought, with our history..." "Our history is exactly why," I said, still gentle. "The way we work here is different. We're built on trust, on clear credit, on lifting each other up. I don't think this would be the right environment for you, or for us." She blinked. She heard the finality. She heard the quiet reference to the past. Color rose in her cheeks. For a second, I saw the old Lisa, calculating, defensive. But it faded, replaced by a weary acceptance. She'd heard a lot of no's lately. "Right," she said quietly. She clutched her portfolio. "Well, good luck, Clara." "Good luck to you, Lisa," I said, and I meant it. She turned and left, closing the door softly behind her. I sat back in my chair. My heart was beating steadily. There was no triumph, no fiery justice. There was a deep, quiet peace. I had looked my old ghost in the face, felt its chill, and I had not let it move me. I had chosen my world, the world I built with patience and kindness, over hers. The rain pattered against the window. On my desk was a photo of my team at our last picnic, laughing. A simple mug that said "Boss" that Ben and Anya had given me as a joke. A thriving business plan for the next quarter. Healing isn't forgetting. It's not a sudden burst of light. It's a slow integration. It's taking the sharp, broken pieces of your pain and carefully, over years, fitting them into the mosaic of who you are. They become part of the picture, but not the whole picture. The picture is also made of strength you didn't know you had, quiet days of good work, and the power of a simple, kind no. I had finally arrived, not at a destination of revenge or even forgiveness, but at a place of quiet power, my own, and it was enough. If you like this story, subscribe to My Healing Tales, because the next story is going to be more interesting.